Okay, welcome back to the Amateur Hour. So, it has been a long time since I've recorded anything. If you notice in the background, we have moved, we have a new location. That's part of the reason why I haven't made a recording since then. But the main reason I stopped recording during the website project was I was learning how to build the back end and deploy it to a VPS, and I didn't. I was very nervous that I would reveal sensitive information like passwords and keys, IP addresses, things like that. Once I got a handle on those things, I definitely could have been doing more of the recording while I'm coding thing. But I was honestly like stressed out, and I just didn't wasn't feeling it. So anyway, the website is done. Basically, there's a few more like small little things that I think the author will want me to change, which I can do um, as I go. So we'll do that. But before I kind of get into the video, um, go to the website, www.caplol.com. Go check it out. Uh, Look at all the pages, see if you find any bugs. Please go ahead and make an account. There's a submit your jokes button. You can register an account there. You'll have to verify your email, and then you can submit a joke. So go ahead and try that out. That's kind of like the main user-based functionality of the site, or the only real user-based functionality. Besides, there's an email list you can join, which you should do. Um, it'll just basically, it's an outlet for the author to update people on book releases and things like that. Um, so, um, what I want to do with this video is just kind of make a um, somewhat brief overview of what I did and how I did it. And this is going to be a real test for me to see if I can articulate these things and how much I can remember, because I learned a lot of it as I was doing it. I relied super heavily on ChatGPT, but like in the cases where I knew nothing, I asked a lot of questions and really did a lot of research to make sure I understood what was happening in the code. So I wasn't like vibe coding or whatever, but the real test is kind of now. This is the first recording of this, so if I don't remember something, I'm just gonna say that. Um, but yeah, the other thing to note too is I think the code that I'm gonna review for this video is going to be what is on my local machine. Um, and I have made some changes to the code base, but I didn't do it the best way possible. I made a lot of the latest changes, which are mostly just like formatting and UI stuff. Um, I did most of that um, on the VPS. Like I actually just opened up a text editor on the VPS that I was SSH'd into, um, and updated the code there. And I did not push that to GitHub or copy it over onto my local machine yet. So some of the code that's on my machine is a little outdated. But um, yeah, so first I'm going to, let's see here, want to turn on my display capture if I can recall how to do that. Okay, here we go. Make me small and make this big. All right, I'll put this on the other screen. Should make myself smaller. Okay. Um, Hopefully my audio is loud enough. We'll just have to see. Um, let's see. One more update. Just about my coding journey so far. Again, I graduated from school in December, and my plan was to get a job by now. I've been applying, particularly in the last couple weeks, like crazy, um, but so far nothing's panned out yet. I haven't even I almost sort of had one interview. This one recruiter called me, and he thought that I was physically located in my hometown in upstate New York near Rochester. Um, so he actually didn't have any opportunities for me. So I feel like I actually could have gotten a job if I was able to work on site somewhere in Rochester. Right now, the job market is super tough. I'm going to keep applying, but I also applied to do online English tutoring again. It's something I had been doing while I was in school and before I was in school. So I'm getting back into that to kind of make sure I can pay the bills while I'm applying for jobs. And the other thing I noticed is almost every job posting says that they're looking for somebody with a bachelor's degree. Now, I don't know before a few years ago they said, "Oh, don't worry about that. If you have the experience, just apply and, they'll test you on your knowledge and look at your projects and if you know your stuff, you're good to go." Um, but I'm like 95% sure I'm going, unless I get like a really good job before then, that doesn't care about me getting a bachelor's degree. I've already applied to a college that I can get a bachelor's degree online. And the program that I have selected is I believe it's data science and analytics, something along that line. So it's kind of like it's a bachelor's degree that's geared towards people that are getting into AI and machine learning and data science, um, which is one of the main things I'm interested in. Um, Again, there's some things I just don't like about school curriculums. Like, I feel like, it just doesn't cover the stuff that I'm seeing in the job postings. Um, except for the fact that they want you to have a bachelor's degree. Um, Hopefully, I'll get even more value as far as um, job relevant skills go with this bachelor's degree. Um, yeah, that's my plan, but that won't be until September. So in the meantime, I need to get a coding job. Um, Hopefully, I can find something. And even if I do, maybe I'll still move forward with, getting the bachelor's degree and working at the same time, which is, super hard when you're my age and have a family. But um, I think that's what I'm going to do. Um, and for now, I'll be doing the English teaching, um, which is, pretty good and has a potential to make decent money as well. Um, anyway, enough of that. The main point of this video is going to, just wanted to give you guys an update, but the main point of the video is going to be about the project. Um, let's, let me open up. I guess I'll open, I hope I saved that. Oh no. Oh wait, okay, good, it's saved. um, so I made this list of just things that I did, um, step by step. I'll just kind of use this as notes to talk about. So some of this you guys have already seen. So the first item is built the front end layout using HTML and CSS. Um, you guys have already seen a lot of this code. if you've watched the other videos. But yeah, so I started out with an HTML template. I started out with something that I used on Free Code Camp, and I totally changed it around. But just kind of get me started, I used it as a template. Um, so yeah, just kind of go through it. So we got our opening HTML tag. We got the head. Some of this stuff I'm not sure like what is actually necessary, to be honest. This is just the character set. Um, XUA compatible. I guess that's got something to do with the way it's displayed. I still don't know. I do see it in most HTML codes, but then some of them I see something different. So um, we got the title, the description. I see these in almost every HTML code. CSS link. All right, so this one was another one that I don't even know that I really needed for formatting, but it's just an outer div for formatting purposes. But um, up here is the navigation and the banner image. Let's go ahead and take a look at it on the site. And I'll bring up the live site for this. Uh, okay, so yeah, there it is. This is the header. This image, I pieced it together myself. It's the artwork from the book from the artist. But basically this was cut out. I had to cut this out of one image, the head of Captain LOL and the head of the chicken, and I had to, make them all aligned the way that he wanted them. So I did that. Got these buttons here, the nice little hover effect. Let's go back to the code. Um, yeah, so we set up this pagination. Um, that was something that I had to spend quite a bit of time researching. We'll talk about that in the JavaScript when we get to it. We got the top line, and we have a section for the main content. And it's organized in a way where these are in columns, vertical columns, but each column has a flex style display. So, but the way that I set it up is so there would only be 5 in each column, and times 3, 15. Um, and I have different types of containers. So each slot um, gets a container, and each type of thing that goes in there. There's 3 types. We have the text jokes, the image jokes, um, and the song, which is it only happens one time, but they have their own container that is targeted in the CSS that we'll see in a second here. For different formatting purposes. We got these organized into 3 columns you can see there. These are just filler. The JavaScript actually fills that up from the database. And then at the bottom, um, got another pagination, set of buttons down there for turning the pages. Oh yeah, these are navigation buttons. And then this is just another promo for the book. It goes to the same place as this book button here. And I set this up as well. This is a legit email address that's set up through Hostinger, um, and this mailing list will actually it actually uses that email to send out verification emails as well. So um, let's, I guess, real quick, we'll talk about basically all these other pages. Um, I essentially just copied over that same template from the index for every single other page except for the main content changes. Um, these were obviously a lot simpler except for this one. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the functionality of the jokes. So, um, I guess first we'll roll through the CSS, and it's still a big mess. I never cleaned up the code, but we will look at it anyway. Okay. Um, so we actually have a custom font, which is pretty cool. The graphic artist for the book made a custom font for the book. He was able to send that to me, and I was able to get that to display it. So like this cool looking font here, um, that's not from Google or whatever. It's actually in this folder. That's it right there. It's actually legit right there. Um, so that was cool. I really enjoyed learning that, how to use a custom font. So all we had to do was, um, it's basically like an import at font face. Um, we're essentially giving it a name here and linking it to where it's located and what type it is. Now, I would say a lot of this stuff is pretty standard. I don't know that we need to go through all of it, but we got this set to the 62.5%, so that way I could use 1 rem for 10 pixels size font throughout, or whatever I'm using. If I want 16 pixel font, I would say 1.6 rem. Um, I've used Flex Display for most of the display settings in all of this. I'm not sure that it's always the best one to use, but it's the one I'm honestly the most comfortable with. It seems like um, I don't know, for most cases, like what I'm thinking and where I want things to like actually be positioned. Um, Flex just seems, I don't know, it's the one I know, so it's the one I go with, and it worked out pretty well, I think. Um, let's see if there's anything really interesting to talk about here. Some of these were a little tricky because they depend on how much content is being displayed on the screen. Like what we have going on here is like once we get to, let's see, this width. That's kind of strange. I thought I had it go to two. I think, yeah, I just have it going down to one column to maintain the readability of the text here in these jokes. Um, I think did have it going to two columns at a certain point, but I think I was having a hard time getting the sizing to like really work out. So it shoots down to one column when it gets smaller. And also, this was important. I can't remember exactly why I needed that column. Where is column? Here we go. It had to do with like hiding the columns on the last page, I think. I guess we can talk about that real quick. So on the last page, as you can see, we have two columns only because this is all the jokes that's left. Like there's only five, one, two, three, wait, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah, so there's only 13. Um, so like 15 can fit on a page, or not 15, why did I just say that? 15 plus 2, yeah, it's only 8, sorry. There's only 8, so it's only going to take up 2 columns worth of space, but they need to be centered. Um, so I believe there's a line in the JavaScript that deals with that. So we'll go to that in a moment. Because when there is say 11, 12, 13, or 14 text jokes to be displayed on this page, it needs to be in 3 columns. 3 columns. Um, and when there's between um, 6 and 10, it needs to be displayed in 2 columns and centered. And same with 1 through 5. If there's only 1 through 5, it just displays in 1 column right in the middle. So that was a little tricky thing I figured out towards the end there. That's why I needed that class column. So let's go back to this one. Um, oh yeah, so see this column, it basically when the column is empty, it sets the display to none. Um, I did try to organize these. I got like, you know, stuff dealing with paginations here. And if you can't recognize these comments, that's the giveaway that this this is where I got a hint from ChatGPT right there for sure. Um, like I was asking, how do I make it so something that is categorized as a button like can't be clicked. That one, like this one, we don't want this to be clickable. Or this one, I believe this is also like it's the same type as these as a, like a button, um, but I don't want people to like think they can click on it. So it doesn't have the little pointer finger, uh, and it's disabled, like it can't be clicked. So what else we got here? Anything worth talking about? I guess probably not really. One thing I guess I'll mention here is I probably could have reused a lot of these classes. Um, there were definitely, one thing that I need to work on is planning out reusable classes way ahead of time. Um, because there's a lot of examples here where like the properties I use are like the same. And I know if I really went through here trying to clean up this code and optimize it, I probably could like turn some of these classes are almost somewhat duplicate. Um, I probably could have eliminated like this thing is it's almost 1,000 lines of code long, which I'm sure it probably could be like I probably could get rid of quite a bit of it if I simply reuse some of the classes uh, for certain things that are like almost the same. Um, yeah, we got our small screen adjustments here. guess that's pretty much all we need to cover here on the CSS. So let's go into the JavaScript. So this one is the main one that's, I believe it's only being used on the index page. So this is where my knowledge is really limited, I would say. And some of the Spring Boot stuff too got really hardcore. But um, let's say this here is just some initial setup for um, making fetch requests to the backend. So when someone visits the main page, they're on the first page. Um, this was what we started with originally, was 6 pages. I don't know if we're at 6 pages still. Yeah, we're still on 6 pages, but um, the fetch requests, this number gets changed by the back end. What's returned by the back end anyway. Um, this one controls where I have a thing that this right here, window scroll to. So like when I click on the buttons, the page buttons, like if I go down here and I click previous page, it scrolls up to the top. It doesn't stay down here. Like before, it would just stay down at the bottom, but it actually scrolls up to the top. But I had to have an offset because otherwise, um, it was like cutting. It wasn't going like all the way to the top where I wanted it. It was like cutting off part of the page. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so um, let's see here. So this is when the page first loads. What it does is it hides. Um, First of all, we're collecting all of the image containers, so and assigning them to a variable. Um, yeah, and we're doing that um, that way we can fill them with the images when we make the request. We're also hiding the loading screen. So a thing that I have, I made a little loading screen because see how the page gets grayed out? I did that because when someone is a first-time visitor to the site, especially if they're located like far away from the server, or if they don't have like a really fast internet connection, the images load kind of slow. So that's another thing that I need to learn about is not using really big JPEG uh, or PNG files. Um, these images are like super large, um, and they take a while to load. Like you can even kind of see it. Sometimes it takes a second. Even if I do like a hard refresh, let me do that. Right now they're loading quickly, but sometimes they load slowly, like do like that. So I made that little grayed out, blurred out screen to kind of mask or hide the fact that these images are taking a second to load. Um, so this is calling this method. It's down here somewhere, I believe. Yeah, we have a hide loading screen and show loading screen. Um, show loading screen. I don't know why I made show. It's like already displayed when the page loads. I'm trying to actually think of. Let me go back to the index. Where is it? Header, pagination, top line, loader. Okay, so this is the loading screen. Um, and this is set to none, and this is displayed. So when the page loads, it it sets this to hidden or display none. Okay, and then where are we at here? Hide loading screen. And then it calls fetch jokes, and it turns the display back on, or not back on, but it turns it on, so you can actually see the jokes. Um, so they are being loaded, but you don't see them until this happens. And it's set on like a half a second timer. I did have it at 2 seconds, and that was just kind of too much. Um, so another thing I want to learn is like how to make like an actual cool loading screen with like some animation or something, and uh, I'd want it to actually not be based on a timeout, but be based on when the content is actually loaded. So that was I was looking on how to do that, and it would have taken me a while to be honest. So I just settled with this for now, half a second thing. But that's something in the future I need to learn how to do, to like actually get it to have something, a function that's actually listening for the event that the content is loaded. Um, what's next? Okay, so these are just for the buttons. They actually, oh, that's why I have the show loading screen. So um, every time a page is turned, it does the loading screen deal. Um, and what else? It should be it should be calling. So hide loading screen does fetch jokes. Where are we at here? It calls fetch jokes. Fetch jokes. Fetch jokes. Where are you? There's fetch jokes. Um, so um, this is like the main function that starts making the API calls and getting the content displayed on the screen. So um, the first thing it does is it updates the buttons. So like for example, this will change to a 2 when it's on page 2. Also, when we're on the first page, you can't use previous or first. When we're on the last page, you can't use next and last. That, um, where is that function? Right here. Um, so this one updates the current page button. This one does all these do all the things I just mentioned. Okay. After that, this is where things get a little tricky. So when we are on page 1, page 2, and page 3, this block is executed. And the reason we have this is because the first 3 pages are the pages that have the images on them. So for each container, which we're talking about the image containers that we um, collected, so to speak, on content load here. When we targeted those, this is where we're using them. So what we're saying is for each one, we're going to add this class list. Now, why are we doing that? We're doing that because, see here they already have it, but we're doing that, the reason we're adding it is because um, when we're on the later pages, we need to remove it. But then when we go back to, let's say we're on page 4 and there's no image jokes, we remove that class from that container because these, where are we at here? Let me show you the container. So in our index, column 1, first slot, we will look at first slot, second slot, third slot. We'll look at this fourth slot. So this basically stays in its place. It's a container. At the moment, it's an image joke container. But when we get to page 4, it needs to transform from an image joke container into a text joke container. So what that JavaScript does is when we're on page 4, it removes this image joke class, which changes the CSS. Let's go up to that one. Text joke, wait, not that one. Column, song container, image joke container, text joke container. Where are you at? Hold on. Text joke container. Anyway, it gets changed to this one, which has different formatting than. Where's the image joke container? It's got to be right here, huh? How? um, text joke. See image joke. Maybe I didn't have any particular formatting for that. I guess I didn't. Could have swore I did though. Anyway, when it's a text joke, it's got something different. I guess the container itself, I did not. Oh, I need to go back there. Let's go back. So anyway, like I said, this one, it's got to change when we're on the later pages. When we go back to the first 3 pages, it's got to be switched back so the right content will be loaded into that container. And we'll see that here. So, for example, when it's supposed to be an image container on the first 3 pages, we also make sure it's being displayed because later we remove that. We make it hidden, I believe. We'll look for that later. But I believe that's a reset. And so this one says if we don't have an image in the joke or in the container, in the this one. If there's no image in here, then we create one and we give it the class. And then I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, we're just putting that in there. Okay. I can't remember exactly why that had to be on there, but if I recall, again, it's when we hit it and removed it for the later pages, then we went back, we needed to put it back in, and this was required. Um, Now we do fetch text jokes and fetch image jokes. Let's do the text jokes first. So this deals with only the text jokes. Now the reason why these are separated is for a few reasons. the main one being is if you guys saw or recall, the way these are displayed are differently. Are The way they're displayed is different. So this joke right here is the most recent joke that was submitted to the database. And it goes in descending order in this direction. So this is the next most recent, um, and so on and so on, all the way to the last. These images, besides this one, this always appears on the first page in this spot, but these image jokes or comic jokes, they are on a rotating set. So like there is five, one, two, three, four, five on each page, each of the first three pages. So there's 15. However, we have 45 of them in the database. And the way that it's set up is depending on which week we're on out of the year, I have 52 weeks mod 3 um, set up. So if we're on a 0 week, then one set of 15 images show up. And then as soon as we move 7 days or 6 days, whatever it is, 7 days into the future, a different set of 15 jokes is sent back from the API request from the backend. So that way, we can have some variety show up. Like the variety for the text jokes appears in the sense that like as jokes are submitted, the newest ones are in the front and the older ones get pushed back. The variety here is you get 15 jokes per week, and then another 15, and then another 15. Um, and it should be scalable. Like if, I suppose you'd have to add 15 if we're going to add more. We'd have to add 15 of them and add another, instead of modding the weeks by 3, we'd mod them by 4 and add another set of jokes in the rotation or something like that. But let's see here. So the fetch request for text jokes, it calls it by page. So we're on page 1. It's going to make the request, and I guess we'll have to. I guess we'll open the backend now. Okay. I'm not going to go into explaining all of this right now, but here is the joke controller. And here is my endpoint for text jokes. Wait, no, just for all jokes. This is my endpoint for text. So, the default value is page 1 for page 1. Um, but it takes in the page, the same thing that gets sent from here for each page. And depending on what page you're on, it's going to first, it's going to use the joke repository to contact the database to make a SQL query. I think that's the right word there. It's going to find out, first of all, how many jokes there are. So let's look at that. Count jokes. Wait, is it count or count joke? Oh, hold on a minute. Count text jokes. Bam. This code could use some cleaning up as well. Count text jokes. Where are you at? Where are you at? Okay. So basically what this does is it makes a query to my MySQL database, and it's typing this command: select all from jokes where the column, the property text, or the type property joke type is text. So it's basically returning how many text jokes we have. And why do we need that? Because we're going to find out um, why is that 29? I'm trying to remember why it's 29. uh, we want to know, I think, how many pages are left. I think that's what the idea is here. So um, 29 is, we had 6, 6 minus 15 minus 6. Well, let me bring up the calculator. 15 minus 6 is 9. And then on, that's how many text jokes are on the first page, because you get the 5 image jokes plus the song, which is 6. There's 15 slots total. 15 minus 6 leaves 9 text jokes. That's the first page. Second page has got 10. Third page has got 10. That's 29. So what we're figuring out here is how many pages are left, basically. How many jokes are remaining after the first 3 pages. Um, why? I can't remember yet. We're about to figure that out. So here, total pages says 3 plus basically what's left divided by 15. So that's why. So we're not counting the first 3 pages here, but we are here. So then we know how many total pages there's going to be um, based upon how many text jokes are available. That's a determining factor because the text jokes are going to grow uh, definitely more than the image jokes. Maybe the image jokes will never grow. But the design is that users are going to submit text-based jokes for now. So we have an offset and amount. This is for the actual request made or query made to the database. I'll explain that in a second. So this is the somewhat complicated math that I felt pretty proud of figuring out. Um, so basically, yeah, we need 9 text jokes if we're on the first page. The offset deals with this database, and actually, maybe what we should do, how can I show this? This could work. So first of all, in our database, this is just a JSON of what is originally loaded into the database, but basically what the database looks like, the table that holds the jokes, it first has the song audio. I threw that in there too. The song audio, the song image, but then from there up until 47 minus 2, that gives you 45 image jokes, and then from there we have 48 um, 48 rows, well, from 48 to 111 of text jokes. So the offset basically says, hey, when I'm looking in the database, um, what am I looking for? Well, first of all, I'm looking for text jokes. So that automatically starts us off here at 48. Um, let me switch back to the repository. Wait, uh, controller. So this is find text jokes. Um, when we're looking at, yeah, I might as well go to the repository, find text jokes. So I'm taking in this offset and the amount, and I'll try to explain the offset now. So the actual query going to the database is going to say, hey, I want you to look for text jokes. Okay. Now what else? I need them to be approved, meaning that either these are the initial jokes that are pre-approved that I personally loaded in the database, or if a user submitted these jokes, a moderator has pressed a button to that will update uh, this property in the database showing that it's flagged as an approved joke. So first it needs to be a text joke, second it needs to be approved. The third thing is I want to order these by descending limit. So basically what by descending order, which means that it's going to get the the joke with the highest ID first. The joke with the highest ID is the most recent one. It's actually at the bottom of the table, but it's the most recent submission or addition to the text jokes. And then we're going to have a limit because we don't want all of them. Like this says select all. We actually don't want all of them. We only want 9 in this case for the first one. And then we in the second page we need to offset it. So I don't want the 9 most recent. On the second page, I'm going to want you to skip those first 9 and then get the next 10 most recent. So that returns that back to the controller. Oops. Bam. That returns that back to, where are you at? Not here. That returns that back to here. Okay. I basically already explained that, I guess. So when we get to the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh pages, etc., we're looking for 15 text jokes. On the last page, it could be less than 15. In most cases, it would be. But that's okay. It's if you ask for 15 and the database only has 10, it'll just give you those 10. And the offset is calculated. It skips off the first 3 pages, which is 29, and then it multiplies how many pages you got by the amount that you need. So hopefully you understand that math, but it asks the database for the right set of text jokes. Now, um, that is going to return that to the front end. Bam, where are we at? Here. So we're going to get a response in JSON format. Um, this syntax still confuses me, but I guess we're calling it or declaring it. We're declaring it the response. Um, basically, the data or what comes back. We're creating a function where we're going to do something with it. That's my best way of articulating this. I'm still new to JavaScript, everybody. Okay, so um, this is just logging, so I can read in the console what's actually being returned. I guess I'll show you that real quick. Dun dun dun. And let me turn the page next. So that's, it's just showing, hey, what on this page, this should be the most recent one. Total page is 6. We have an array with 10 jokes in it. There they are. Bam, 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 bam. Joke 105, 104, 103. This is the second page, so it's got 9 less. There's more than 111 now. There's 9 more than 105. So there's that. We also got the image jokes here. Bam. Okay. So this updates the total pages based upon what was returned. You just saw that total pages is 6 now instead of, well, it was already 6, but if it was 7, it would change it to 7. Um, we have the joke containers. Now these is, I should have named this text joke containers, but anyway, it's the text joke containers. We're targeting those. And what are we doing with that? We are going to erase first anything that's in there, like the filler that's in this index file. Before we before we try to put the jokes that we got from the back end in there, we're gonna clear anything that's in there. Um, I still don't know that this was absolutely necessary, but if for some reason something was still being displayed from before, it's gonna make sure it's cleared out. Then we're going to put the actual joke in there. So for each joke, where is this one? Data.joke. So uh, from that JSON that's returned, we're going to say for each line in there, for each ID number, and I'm still not sure if this is declaring here or not. It's very bad for that. I don't know that, but um, what it's doing is for each one, we're targeting the actual containers on the page, the text joke containers on the page. Um, we're gonna select the index of the JSON for those joke containers, and we are going to set the inner content or HTML for that, and we're going to set it to this tag, which is basically the same thing you saw over here. Okay, where is one? It's basically the same thing you're seeing here. However, it is taking the data coming from that JSON. So the text, the actual joke itself, and then the credit where it's like, this joke is by Anthony Marrero, blah, 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 blah. The separator, I think that's the three dots at the bottom, if I remember right. And then we make sure that it's being displayed. Because I think down here, yeah, on the last page, there are some extra containers. Like, we don't have 15, so we have to hide them. For example, when we're on page 6, page equals total is equal to total pages. Or actually, I think this means is strictly equal to total pages. In that case, we're going to iterate through all of the um, technically wait a minute. Yeah, we're iterating through each joke container, and um, I don't know why I did it this way, but basically we're hiding it. And then when we're not on the last page, we do the opposite. We display it. Um, I can't remember why I have hidden and none, but it works. Catching an error here if there was an issue. Um, that pretty much only happens when I can't communicate with the database for whatever reason. Like if the VPS server is down, or if I had some issue with my Spring Boot application with the backend. Okay, so then if you recall, we fetched text jokes, and then we did fetch image jokes. Where are we at? Right here. Okay, now we're gonna fetch image jokes, and it's basically the same thing except for it's a different endpoint that we're reaching, slash joke slash image, um, and we're looking for a page. So let's go back here. Oops. Song. No, not song. Image. So this one is that crazy math I was talking about, where if we are on one particular week, we're going to select a certain set of images. So um, it uses the current time, system current time, mod it by three, and this is basically dividing it by number of weeks um, of of a year, modded by three. Um, these are the IDs in the database, so it just makes sure it's at the right. Uh, it's actually getting the IDs with that are images. Um, and I can't remember why I had this in here. But anyway, the repository method here is basically the same kind of idea. So, joke, repository, find image jokes. So we're looking for joke types of that are images, and it's between uh, whatever number we're sending in and the other number we're sending. So between parameter and parameter. And this time we're doing the order in ascending order. I guess that didn't really matter. It should have already done that automatically. I don't know, but that's what I did. So in this case, we have a start ID, and the end ID is just +4 because it's 5 total. Yeah, so that returns that. It sends it back to the front end, and we take that. We target the image joke containers, and then uh, we modify the HTML to um, basically set the image path um, to the right image, the image that we're looking for, from that returned JSON. So in this case, like all that's really important is it's in this folder, images slash image jokes, image joke 12.png. Um, so that was kind of one thing that was really interesting to learn about this was that uh, databases don't, well, at least this database, and I think a lot of databases, like they don't. I guess they can hold actual files, but they're usually holding the path reference to the file. Like they're not holding the actual file. Um, and again, in the research I was doing, there are different types of databases, and there's something called a blob, which I don't really understand what it is, but that's supposed to be like actual data rather than just a link to the actual data stored somewhere else on the same system. Um, I kind of found that interesting, is it's kind of just like a directory almost. It's almost like the database is just a phone book. Like, oh, you're looking for this file, you can find that file over there. like, um, but yeah, I got to learn more about databases and ones that may or may not actually hold the actual data. So yeah, what's next? So let's go back to fetch jokes. This is probably one of the more complicated parts of this project. Okay, so that's what happens when we're on pages 1, 2, and 3. The other pages, we basically, as I mentioned before, we're getting rid of the image joke containers. Not really getting rid of them, but transforming them into text jokes containers. Um, that way, when we call fetch text jokes, it will fill all of them and they will all be what they're supposed to be, if that makes sense. Now, oh yeah, this removes the image. So that's why I had that in there. One of the issues that I had was when I changed this to a text joke um, container, it still kept the image element inside of the container, and it was still being displayed. Um, so I had to actually remove, not just change the class from image to text, but I had to actually remove the image because you could still see it on the screen. Um, and that's why we're adding it back in when we go back to the first three pages. Um, now, that was just to let me know what page we're on in the console. Now, if we're on the last page, we needed to do adjust columns. And I talked about that a little bit already, but adjust columns. Um, this has a visible columns counter, if you will. We're basically we're determining like based on the JSON that's returned, if I recall right. Let's see, joke containers. Um, no, okay. So we're just first we're saying, hey, how many text joke containers do we have? Um, and then we're gonna say, hold on. Okay, if it didn't, that's why I had the none and hidden. So if it's not set to none, then it does have a visible joke. Okay. Now, if it has a visible joke, we're going to display it. Um, column has visible jokes. So if it has a joke in it, we're going to say, well, this column needs to be visible. And if it doesn't, then we're going to say that that column, we don't need to see it. And then here's where we adjust it. So basically, if there's only one column, we're going to center it. If there's two columns, we're going to center it. But then when there's three columns, we set it to space evenly. So everything just appears the way it does on all the other pages, basically, except for centering those two. So that way they're not just like offset to one side with white space blank on the side. Now, where were we? We are here. I don't know why we forgot to do handle first slot. We'll do that at the end, I guess. We got the adjust columns. Now, when we go back from the last page to the other pages, we need to basically rinse and repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. Basically, we say, hey, make sure all the columns are visible. Um, this was something I didn't need. And yeah, make sure they're not hidden. Um, Now, the thing I forgot to talk about was one of the first things. The first thing we do is handle the first slot. The first slot on the first page is the song. So we call the song endpoint. I'm not going to show that right now. But basically, um, we have that labeled as the first slot. So the first slot, when we are on page one, we're going to put a song in there. The image and the audio. There it is right there. Based upon the fetch, I might as well show it. Joke controller, joke controller, where are you, man? Song. So basically we're calling these two things at the repository. Repository says find me the image. That's going to be um, where ID equals 1. Yes, because that's what that is. ID equals 1. Yeah. And then the audio is just in the second slot. So just give me what's in the second slot, which is the audio. Okay, and then we put it in there. We have here data.song image. Um, why do we have an array there? Because it's the JSON. JSON. I can't remember why we have wait there. For some reason we needed that. I think because let's actually just look at it in the console real quick. So when we're on page 1, oh, we actually get 2 arrays. Why do we get 2 arrays? I can't remember why we get 2 arrays. It sends it as 2 separate things. Why? Wait a minute. Song. Data. Why? I can't remember why it does that. Anyway, um, I guess that's what it's called. Hold on. Let me look at the console again. I can't remember why it comes back like that, but I have to figure that out next time I do it, I guess. Anyway, that's what these do. It sets them there. Now, when it's not the first page, it just sets it as a text joke um, container, and then when fetch text jokes gets called later on in the fetch jokes function, it will fill it with the text joke. Um, what else do we got to talk about here? So that's like kind of the main thing um, for the main page. We do have um, an event listener for the submit button on the mailing list. I don't think we're going to talk about that right now. Um, this is making sure it's an email. Um, this one, uh, this one is the API endpoint for users or visitors, I'll say, visitors to subscribe to the mailing list. So they don't need to create an account. Um, we're already at over an hour, so I think I'm going to stop here before I kind of break down the rest of the project. But basically, what we've covered so far is just the main functionality of the main page. Most of the stuff I've described most of the stuff that or the functionality that happens on the main page. So um, how the pagination works, how the content gets displayed and fetched from the database. So probably I'm going to end the video in a second here, and then next time we can talk about more of the back end stuff and the other feature as far as like the mailing list and user registration, login, and user submission. So um, there's not much going on here. This is just like basically just text describing book, um, by the way, get the book if you can. The book is cool. Definitely buy the book. Um, and this one is essentially nothing yet until it becomes a real thing. This is about the author. So yeah, next video we will uh, talk about the other features in the back end. Basically, we'll have to go over the JavaScript that handles the front end of those things, like the moderator page that allows the moderator to view and approve jokes, and also this JavaScript here that um, lets the user be able to navigate the submission page and log in, register, submit, etc. And here we'll have a lot more to talk about. Basically, I guess we won't get into it too much, but we have the different different what do you want to call this? I did the architecture by feature, not by layer. I think that's the right way to say it. So like we have the joke feature. Hope I'm saying that right. All this deals with the mailing list, moderator stuff. Security is a big one. Yeah, we need a whole other video for that. And I'm going to struggle to explain it. Stuff dealing with the user, what they can do. Um, and this is like dealing with both the email and the security stuff, tokens and whatnot. But yeah, let's call this video a wrap. If you made it this far, I don't know. I hope you like looking at some of this stuff. Um, I am still I still consider myself very green when it comes to JavaScript, but I definitely learned a lot. I'm feeling pretty good that I was able to remember um, most of what's happening here in this code that I wrote. There's only a couple of things that I would really need to dig back into to figure out here. We'll see how that holds up in the next video. But yeah, um, thanks for coming. Hope to see you again next time. And if you're a recruiter and need a guy, you call me, or email, whatever. See you next time.